Hello, this is Tyson with the Idaho Renaissance Fair Inc., and we welcome you to our YouTube page today, where we are going to be doing a very brief overview of what SKAL is. As many of you know, we have this Viking festival that we are putting on January 24th and 25th in Caldwell, and a lot of you have been wondering why SKAL? What is the meaning behind it? What is the point behind it? And this is what this video is going to be addressing. So let's start historically with what SKAL is. So SKAL, SKAL, originally translated into bowl. And what would happen, according to Norse mythology, Odin, their head god, he taught man how to make beer. And so the brewing of beer and the making of beer, that was almost a religious thing. And whenever they would have a celebration, they would want to celebrate with something that was going to lift the spirits. They wanted to celebrate with something that signified special, and that was beer. Because you have to understand, back in the day when this was being a thing and it was a common way of life for the Vikings, if it was a hard year, beer was not more important than bread. And so they would take their grains and they would use them for food over using them for some form of beverage. And so beer really was a celebratory drink. And so they would have from very small communal bowls that they would use to extremely large bowls that they would sit on the tables, and they would have these smaller skulls, these smaller bowls that they would drink out of this communal bowl. It helped bring the community together. It helped with the word of the day, with the gossip. It helped bring everyone to a happier level in their life, especially back then when life was a little bit more on the difficult side. Everyone was trying to figure out a way to get their life to go in a positive way. And I know that's a very modern way of looking at it, but in all honesty, anytime you have a celebration, you have the celebration to lift people's spirits. And so they would get their family groups together, they would get their villages and their towns, and they would have games and they would have stories and they would celebrate what they could, whether it was weddings, whether it was religious ceremonies, whether it was military victories. Any excuse to have a good celebration was always welcome. So that is the original meaning of SKAL and kind of where that came from. Now, the first written form of SKAL that we find is actually from Iceland. There is a 12th century poem that specifically talks about it. And that was very indicative of how the Vikings would go about with their stories. They were very big with their songs, they were very big with their poetry. It was growing and sharing with each other your talents, being able to showcase and entertain. And having that communal bowl, that SKAL, was very, very nice. So, originally found 12th century Iceland. Then in 1589, we have James the Sixth of Scotland. He goes to Denmark. He's over there for business of some sort, and they celebrate with him, and they have the SKAL bowls. And so the first time you see the word SKAL in English, that is where it originated from, is from that 1589, is the oldest form of it. Now, a lot of people, especially Hollywood, have taken SKAL and they'll depict the Vikings drinking out of the skulls of their enemies and stuff. By all historical accounts, that's not accurate. Vikings were actually really clean, and they did not necessarily drink from skulls. It was not considered a good thing to do. You were like a warlord or a monster if you did that, even in their cultures. And this is based off of a lot of research that I saw. So if anyone can go ahead and kind of give an indication otherwise, most people seem to agree that the drinking of the skulls is not accurate. And honestly, the reason skull and skull sound so close together is because skull actually was taken by the English to mean skull. It originated as bull, SKAL, and then it rotated into SKALI, SKALLI, meaning bald head, no hair at all. And then the English took the word and they turned it into skull, the container for the brain. Still a bowl, just inverted. So that's where the skull word comes from, and a lot of people get confused by that. But you can still go to Scandinavian countries today, and they have changed it from meaning bull to straight up meaning cheers. You know, you have a drink, skull, and everything is great, and everyone skull, and you drink, and you have your celebration. It's a positive thing. And that's what we are doing as the Idaho Renaissance Fair. We are taking this in a positive direction. We are trying to bring the community together. We will have drinks available, of course. We have entertainment, we'll have fires, we'll have storytelling. There will be local vendors that are selling their wares that they have made or they have brought in. There's going to be food vendors that are going to be selling all of their foods, and a whole bunch of different community gathering activities happening at our event. We are literally taking the original meaning and purpose behind SKAL, and we are bringing it to you today. And that's what we are all about here at the Idaho Renaissance Fair. So, we hope that your history is as fun as our history. We hope you learned a lot from this. And we hope to see you at our event January 24th and 25th in Caldwell at the Canyon County Fairgrounds. Huzzah!